We'll call this meeting to order. First bill we'll hear is Senate File 44. Knock yourself out.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to introduce Senate File 44, bill that we worked on during the summer.
You want to introduce yourself first?
Oh, well, I guess I could, yes. Senator John Kolb. Anything else, sir? Okay.
That's it.
All right. First time I've been in revenue, Mr. Chairman. So not there was any reason not to be here, but I didn't have a purpose. So pleasure being in front of everyone here. Bill had been worked all summer. It was to deal with kind of the issue we have in the state right now with gaming activities that are going on and they're for profit. And when you have basically a business of some sorts, it could be a bar, could be anywhere that is conducting a game and getting a profit from said game or a buy-in from said game. It goes beyond a card game you might have with your relatives during Thanksgiving. That was not meant to be captured in this bill. It was meant to be captured to capture the idea that if you're doing this for money in a business operation, that it's illegal in the state of Wyoming. And this bill was the end result of a conversation about, well, what do we do about it? How can we be fair? How can we not bring in people we don't intend to because it's not a business operation? So that was this framework around this bill, Mr. Chairman. I think it's a pretty short bill. We had issues with relationships where they had a relationship of wanting to gamble, and that was their, I guess, friendship. So this really defines it as more of a profit situation where you're deriving a profit from said activities, a business activity. So the goal is to improve the definition of what friends are, frankly. You can't be friends for the sole purpose of wanting to gamble. That can't be the reason why you're friends at a game. And it was kind of a loophole in the law that we had that you could say that, and our local prosecutors felt like it wasn't strong enough, the language to prosecute. So that it left them without a tool. And so this is a clarification and attempt to tighten up the definition. So when they find a situation, and I can assure you they found many of these, that they can take action upon it. I think to give you some local, I guess, news over there in Evanston, they found, I believe, 5 or 6 operations down one street that they were conducting that violated our state statutes. And it's really a broad problem about telling people what they think is legal isn't legal. That's really half the battle. But this bill doesn't do that. What it tries to do is let our prosecutors prosecute when they see there's an issue and deal with it. That's kind of a broad overview, Mr. Chairman, and I stand for any questions.
So if I understand this correctly, basically, if it's not a for-profit or a business thing, you can still play poker and do those things with your friends.
Mr. Chairman, yes, you could play for bananas. You could you could do a lot of things as long as it's with your friends. You just sit down there for a card game. You want to sit down and you get together and you want to have a pot of money, I guess, and it's between your friends. No one's taking a profit. There's no buy-in. It's not a professional game. I never attended games where they maybe buy into it. And yeah, you can continue to do that, and we want to protect that, Mr. Chairman. I think you were there too during the testimony and heard this, but that's what the intent of this bill is, and I don't see where it infringes upon that ability.
Questions? Senator Wright.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for that, Senator Kolb. I kind of briefly looked at the bill, and it didn't seem that it had less restrictions maybe for private organizations and in places to, kind of relax some of the regulation. Could you comment on that? Just, I tend to like what you're trying to do here, but I didn't really see that component, I guess, in the bill. Thank you.
Chairman McEwen, Senator Ride. I don't quite get the question 100%. Maybe we could tell me a little better what you mean. We were trying to I'll just explain, I guess, what I think I heard is we tried to rein in professional organizations, right, for making this a business. And what they'll do is say a bar will have a game and then they'll take a cut off the top in the game. That's what this bill does, is deals with that issue. And in certain cases, it has to go 100% to charity, right? You can do certain things, and that's another way of gaming. But gaming in the state of Wyoming, or gambling in the state of Wyoming, is still precluded by our Constitution. So these are all ways to say we're okay with them giving it to charity. We're all right with that. We're okay with you doing something at your home with your friends, or even sitting down somewhere at a table. Frankly, it's not advertised, right? You didn't say, hey, there's a game over here. Everybody who's a gambler like me, come over here because we're all friends, and that's our familial relationship between these folks. So that's what it does. I think the question that maybe you're asking may be more broad, if I'm I don't know, speculate, Senator Odd, through you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know if that answered your question. Maybe it didn't. If it didn't, I'll try again.
No, I think, yeah, that's all I was really looking for, was a little bit of commentary on that aspect of it. Just trying to make, private organizations, if they're going to do it, to make it just less restrictive effectively. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Rod, to be clear, the restrictions, that's kind of another area of gaming that I think we're getting into there. Hence the reason why I'll start talking about the task force might be necessary to deal with this, because there's a lot we didn't touch. This was just to deal with these people getting these professional games going. I mean, that's really the broad net we cast over that area. There's a lot more work to do, Senator Ide, through Chairman McEwen, to get this done. This is just our first stab at cleaning up issues that the Gaming Commission has found they're constantly dealing with, trying to, frankly, educate folks. People don't want to, it's not the goal to run out and find a bunch of people in charge. County attorneys do that, frankly, Senator Ide.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And apologize, I didn't go through you when I followed up on my question there.
3 licks later.
I know.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you,
we have just a little more, it's more than just one community that you said, just a little more background, and I know you've kind of taken this on to kind of get it clarified.
Well,
What brought us to this point before we take a vote on this?
the out of control situation in the state of Wyoming with gaming, when it comes to these type of buy-in card games, the issue that the county prosecutors in most cases weren't willing to prosecute because it had an element in there of being friends, Chairman McEwen, Senator Dockstetter, and the element of being friends, because it was so broad, they say, I'm a friendship because we like to gamble. And they basically they didn't want to be prosecuted because of that, because they felt like there wasn't a strong enough definition. Basically, the definition we used, frankly, didn't work. So this is an attempt to clean that up and make it possible for people to feel comfortable in prosecuting these issues when they find them in a court of law. So that's the reason.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Kolb.
You want me to sit here or sit down and stand for questions, Senator or Chairman?
You're fine staying there
All right.
now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have any other testimony?
Mr. Chairman, my name is Denise Parrish, and I'm just a member of the public. And I will admit, while I've testified before the legislature multiple times, I'm not an expert in gaming law. So I've come just to ask you to make sure that nonprofits and fraternal organizations are still able to engage in their fundraising through some of the gaming that they do internally within their organizations. I will admit that I am a member of several nonprofits that fundraises. I'm also a member of a fraternal organization in town where I like to go down and have dinner and spend a little bit of my pittance of state retirement money on a little game of chance here and there or so forth. And nonprofits and fraternal organizations really help our communities, and they need ways to raise money and to fundraise. And I just want to make sure that nothing is either, if that's a problem now, that this bill helps that, or that this bill does not stop that in some ways, because I think it's very important to have those fraternal organizations and nonprofits have the ability to help the community and continue their activities.
This bill does not hinder any of that. Go ahead, Senator Cole.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Nick Laramundi could probably make a comment about this, because that subject is, you're right, it doesn't really, it's not really within this bill. It's already state law if it's being violated. There's a lot of nuances to this, which probably goes more to education. But I think I'll on the phone a friend if a friend can answer the phone, Mr. Chairman.
You're the next contestant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senators, so real briefly, a little bit of background of what brought this up. You know, the Gaming Commission is in the field in licensed establishments for skill-based amusement games, historic horse racing, all day, every day. And what we were finding across the state was bars and establishments were hosting poker games, and they were doing that in order to generate extra business for their bars, which is illegal. In working with county prosecutors and DAs throughout the state, we determined that there was some gaps in the law, and that's really what this bill is trying to do, is trying to keep the legal regulated gaming well-regulated and legal, and then the illegal gambling very clear that it's illegal. So I just wanted to start with that. On the charitable side of gaming, there's three main things under Wyoming law that are legal for charitable organizations to conduct gaming: bingo and pull tabs, Calcuttas. Those are the three major avenues for charities. In fact, they're the only ones legally that can obtain a license to conduct bingo and pull tabs. You have to be a charitable organization, and Calcuttas, 10% of the proceeds have to go to a charity. Another carve out in the law, or an exception to gambling in the law, is raffles conducted for a charitable purpose. Now, a raffle conducted for a charitable purpose, you know, the way that we look at this, it's a traditional raffle. You sell raffle tickets, you draw, you win a prize. That could be a half a beef, it could be a firearm, it could be anything. As long as the 100% of those proceeds are then going to the charitable purpose, for the charitable purpose, it is legal. What we have recently found is that raffles are being conducted for an opportunity to then gamble. So just because you attach a raffle to the front side of an illegal game on the backside, it doesn't make the backside game legal. So in this instance, what the biggest one, and I think the one that's been most talked about recently, is it's called Queen of Hearts. They also call it Jack of Clubs or Ace of Spades. Basically what that is you have 52 cards in a deck. They'll put them either in an envelope or they'll put them up on a board face down. They sell raffle tickets throughout the week. Whoever gets their raffle ticket drawn then gets to go pull a card off the board. If they pull the Queen of Hearts, they win the pot. If they don't pull the Queen of Hearts, they sell raffle tickets for another week. And then the next person gets to go pull a card. In some of these instances, what we found is we've had pots or the winnings exceed over $130,000. In some cases, $160,000, because you can go 52 weeks that way. And then if nobody draws if the last card's not the Queen of Hearts, you can start for 52 more weeks. You could go for 2 years. Depending on how many tickets are sold, that generates the pot. What we're finding on the business side of it is there's either a split, the winner gets 80% and the bar may take 20%. That's professional gambling by definition currently. And with charitable organizations, the raffle shall be conducted only for a charitable purpose. In this case, the raffle itself is actually being conducted for a secondary game. So if charitable organizations wanted to hold 50-50 raffles, or raffle off a beef, or raffle off a car, that's completely within the confines of the law. But to sell a raffle ticket for what would be considered an illegal game on the outset, it's not legal. So this bill, although it doesn't address that, like Senator Kolb said, it doesn't address that specifically, that would still remain illegal.
Questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your last comment there. Could that be in the bill? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Senator Ide, that's a policy decision for you all to make. If that's something that you wanted to carve out, for charitable organizations to conduct other types of games to generate funds, that's entirely a policy decision for you all.
Quick
Follow up.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That was maybe a little bit of what I was getting at earlier with Senator Kolb. And yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to be clear about this, that would be a whole nother bill. I would say that just because of the type of thing we're talking about, it's a slippery slope because it's still illegal in the state of Wyoming, and making a game that would be associated with another illegal game is going to be a whole nother subject. Respectfully, I think it deserves a lot of time. Chairman McEwen, Senator Ide, it's deserving of a conversation, but I think it would be a big lift for this bill to try to wordsmith that in right now. Senator Ide.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I will tell you that the fraternal organization I belong to does a lot of Queen of Hearts, and it is a big fundraiser for us. And we do take that money, and it is split between the charitable organization and the people who win the pot, if you will. And we do a lot of good work in the community with those funds. So, we've only recently started to hear that it was illegal. I think this word was not out there for a long time. And so, now that we know, we have stopped doing it at our organization, but it will be a financial hit.
Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify, because I know the public's listening, and this is obviously an issue across the state. Is it never the intent, and I'll just speak openly, that to shut down charitable games? I think we just maybe have to find another way of doing it. And we can, with the help of people like our gaming commission, there's a path out there. I think people have developed a set of games that just frankly aren't legal. But I think there's a solution without saying there's none of this activity. I certainly want to help charities. I'll just say that.
So my question is, you made a statement that the House was taking 20%. If they weren't taking any, would that be okay?
Mr. Chairman, so the way that the statute reads, yeah, if there's no take at all, then it's not gambling. It's likewise, so like with the easiest example would be bingo. So, we have charitable bingo is completely legal so long as they're licensed and they've been in existence in the state for 3 years. What we have seen other locations, i.e. bars, that are trying to generate business, what they've started to do is host bingo. And they can do that one of two ways legally. They can partner with local nonprofits that are licensed, and they can host bingo in their bar. As long as the bingo is being conducted by the charity, that's completely legal. Or in some instances, what bars have done to generate business on their own is they just don't charge for cards. If they don't charge for cards and there's not an exchange from the player for money for a chance to win anything, then they just give door prizes too. So, you walk in, they say, oh, here's your free card. Tonight we're going to give away, a t-shirt or whatever the case may be. That draws the people in, which is what they're trying to do. And that's not gambling. That's not bingo because they're not even charging. The player doesn't have to pay for the card. I hope that answers your question.
So if the house isn't taking any money, then they can do it.
If the house isn't taking, can you give me an example of kind of what you're thinking? Because there's so many different caveats in some of this that could make it legal or illegal. And that really is the purpose of this bill, is to make it very clear what is legal and what is not legal.
So if you're doing a Queen of Hearts game and
Mhm.
people are buying tickets and you draw the Queen of Hearts and the person who draws the Queen of Hearts gets all the money and the house doesn't take any.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Senator Case.
maybe I can help. It's the previous weeks. They could go weeks and weeks where people put in the pot. And if there's no winner, that pot goes to the house. Now, I guess that pot could accumulate and you could redo it and redo it and redo it. So that the house got nothing. But the way the game is practiced now, it doesn't roll over into the pot. The take from each week is used to fund the organization. I hope I did that right. Maybe she's saying no and he's going, yes, it's like this.
I'd like to comment on that most of the Queen of Hearts games I've seen, there's always a winner on the deck. Someone finally draws the Queen of Hearts and then they get the pot. And we've been doing this for years. And I'm kind of confused with the incongruence of how we're managing this. It's my understanding that historic horse racing was set up to generate purse money for horse races. Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct.
And there hasn't been a horse race in Natrona County since 2017 or 2018.
Likewise, I believe that is correct.
And yet we're allowing them to conduct historic horse racing and pocket the money. And we're going after Queen of Hearts. Senator Kolb.
Well, just to be clear, that money still goes to a purse for horse racing, even though there may not be live horse racing within Natrona County, let's say, for an example, it does go to a purse. That cut doesn't change because you did it in a county without horse racing. So that's true. I think what this bill is going to do, before we talk about why we need a committee that deals with this, Senator McEwen, Chairman McEwen, this just tries to encompass the folks that are actually professionally gambling. The ones that are the house is taking a cut, kind of like they're running a Las Vegas operation. I think this other thing that we're talking about, this Queen of Hearts game, that's a combination of education, because folks just don't know, I always tell you, our prosecutors have found that $140,000 pot. In fact, in Sweetwater County, in fact, one of the bars in town. And in fact, it was told to them what was going on by another person, who basically said, hey, but they're doing it. So we have a huge education problem to that point, Chairman McEwen. You're right. There's a huge issue here with education in the state of Wyoming. I think nobody wants to stop nonprofits from making money for their charitable purposes, but it's been commingled with people making a profit, trying to subsidize something else. We want to support nonprofits, but it's turned into this kind of quasi business venture that's doing other things. This bill merely talks about that relationship between gamblers and the prosecutors being able to prosecute.
Well, and I apologize. Go ahead, Senator Pappas.
Thank you. Just to clarify it in my mind, if the house is the charity, is that still illegal?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Pappas, yes. Depending on how it's conducted. Again, if the charitable organization is receiving their funds through bingo, pull tabs, Calcuttas, that's completely legal. If the charitable organization is receiving funds through a raffle that is conducted for that purpose, i.e., raffling off a half a beef to where the drawer wins the half a beef. That's okay. The problem specifically with the Queen of Hearts is you've attached what could be considered a legal raffle to an illegal gambling game on the back set.
Follow up.
So if we're looking to not penalize charities, wouldn't a simple fix be to allow charities to, if they're 100% getting the house, they're the house 100%? I could see that as a simple fix, or am I just too naive here?
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Senator Pappas, you're obviously correct, but we already can do that. You can already do exactly what you said. If I'm understanding this correctly, the scenario you laid out, that is in fact how you do it. We have people that are taking this process and making a two-step process out of it. I think that was Nick, and it's kind of, what they've done is they've taken a legal activity and combined it with an illegal activity, right? It's like you raffle off a ticket and you got, some sort of illicit drug. The raffle then doesn't make the illicit drug legal, that activity. And it's kind of what they're doing with the profits. So it's an in-depth problem, and we wrestled with this about understanding it first. Chairman McEwen, Senator Pappas, it's in essence, that's what you said, if I understand it right, is correct, but I'll let, if you mind, Mr. Chairman.
Can I clarify that then?
Oh, sure.
Mr. Chairman?
Follow up.
But what I heard from testimony over here is that they're doing the Queen of Hearts in whatever organization you're at, and you're taking 100% of the profits for the charity, but they said they have to shut down. Or did I hear that wrong?
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Senator Pappas, is that there are, so you buy a ticket and then the whoever's ticket is drawn is picks a card. They might win a less than the full pot, or they might win the full pot with whatever card they pick. A portion of the ticket sales goes to the charity. A portion of it goes to the pot. So for instance, if I spend $10 buying tickets, $5 of that might be kept by the charity, and $5 of that would go to the pot.
Mr. Chairman, is that not different than a raffle? Whoever is buying the ticket, it's really a chance, right? Gets a chance at it. I guess I must be very naive because I don't see the difference between that and a regular raffle, whether it's two-step or not. The only difference I see is if there's a party on the second half that's for profit, then I see that's gambling, but maybe I'm wrong.
Chairman McEwen.
Go ahead, Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman McEwen. If you don't use all of the money to a charity, that's the issue. You can't skim part of it. You can't technically take 1%. The only way out is to give it all to a charity, because that's the purpose. I think maybe a simpler way of putting it. But Chairman McEwen, to the Revenue Committee, this is the big lift with this thing, because there's so many different tentacles. This is dealing with another kind of activity, but I think it probably goes to show that we need a standing committee. I'm going to try to sell that now as not talking about it in the bill, but thank you for the chance to comment, Chairman McEwen.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Mike Mosier, Wyoming State Liquor Association. We have worked bills involving card games for over 30 years. The most recent one was 2007, when the Attorney General in 2006 ruled that bars cannot make a direct, or bars, restaurants, et cetera, cannot make a direct profit, and included selling drinks and stuff as direct profit. So all card games were illegal for about 6 months. I believe you probably remember those days, Senator Case. It was a TRW committee amendment. And so we legalized card games again for a little while. Grandma and her friends playing cribbage in the local coffee shop were felons. And so we removed that because that wasn't the intent. This is the next step, and it's not indirect versus direct that is the question. Now, the question arose, why is this bill existing? I haven't heard of any rampant craziness, poker games and cribbage games in nonprofits. The problem we had was there were temporary poker, well, there were poker parlors opening across the state who used a club excuse as their reason for opening. They were advertising during major football games, and their sole purpose was a club that played poker. And that was the problem. I mean, I don't know about you all, you have constituents. I have membership constituents consisting of hundreds of businesses, and I haven't heard anything about large, crooked, nefarious poker and cribbage games. I heard about the professional poker parlors that were using a loophole in Wyoming law involving limited retail / club liquor licenses. So you'd become a member, walk in, pay your dues, play poker, and you were a member, so it was okay. And so it was kind of a shell to do poker. The Gaming Commission, God love them, did shut those places down with existing statute. And what we were looking to do is making it a little more firm that those places can't open. That the poker games or the cribbage games or whatever, or shake-a-days, the dice games are incidental to the business and not the purpose for the business. That makes any sense at all. Now, I'll get into the Queen of Hearts if you would like to later, but this bill by itself, we feel cleans things up a lot. However, there is a concern I have, and I didn't get a chance to share this with Senator Kolb until fairly recently, a few other of you. One of the things that we have been experiencing, especially nonprofits, but also bars, is there's been new crackdowns, we'll say some zealous enforcement of Wyoming's gaming laws. We have had one thing that didn't come up is coin pushers. Those were determined illegal by the Gaming Commission about 3 months ago. And what happens is, in coin pushers, bars and clubs have had them for decades, including veterans organizations that the good chairman and I are acquainted with. And you found out that the Gaming Commission determined them to be illegal when a guy with a gun comes in and says, here's a cease and desist letter, you're committing a felony, don't do it again. And if you keep doing it, you can't have any more gaming. And so it was scaring the holy tar out of people who were barely surviving with their nonprofits. Queen of Hearts was the same thing. My understanding is, and I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, from the Gaming Commission point of view, Queen of Hearts is illegal. I don't care where it goes. I don't care if it all goes to charity or not. That was my understanding from the fraternal organizations that have been popped. And when I say popped, they weren't arrested. But when you've got a nonprofit organization and somebody comes in and issues a cease and desist letter and tells you they're going to shut you down if you keep going, it scares you. But this ties into my only concern with this bill. And Mr. Laramendi, who I respect immensely now, we worked on this bill with Senator Kolb. On page 3 of the bill, some of you might remember Senator Burns. I had a call from him a couple nights ago, and he goes, I saw this bill. Who wrote it? And I said, well, I worked with it. And he said, it's got a major problem. And the major problem, according to Senator Burns, who worked on the earlier poker bills and stuff, is on line 3, where it says on page 3, in which no person. Well, according to, and I checked with some attorneys, it's correct. Person can also include business. If it meant person as individual, it would say natural person. And so the way this is written with overzealous enforcement, and I'm not saying they'd do it, but on the other hand, if that club rented out a room so you could have a cribbage tournament, you could be in violation of state statute and committing a felony because you've been remunerated for that room. Now, we do not want any establishment taking a cut poker games, cribbage games, anything else. And I agree wholeheartedly with Director Laramendi on that. You cannot take a cut off a football pool. You can't take it off a shake-a-day. You can't take it off a poker game. But on the other hand, if you sell them drinks, and if grandma and her friends come in and play cribbage and you rent them a room so they can have a tournament, I don't want people being guilty of illegal gaming. So my suggestion, and I don't have to do it right away because, like I said, I popped this kind of late on Senator Kolb because Bruce didn't call me earlier, is we need to clarify that Romanet 5 does not mean business or nonprofit. It means individuals can't take a cut. Our approach in this one was to prevent professional dealers. Because the way, and I'm sure none of you have ever played poker, but the way poker works in a professional game is the dealer takes a cut as well. And we did not want professional dealers or the business itself taking a cut. So we support this bill. That one area of concern does concern me, because if you try to read too much of it, yeah, you can bust that nonprofit for renting out a room or maybe even selling them a cup of coffee. So we don't want that to go there. So that would be my suggestion. Other than that, committee, I thank Mr. Laramendi and the good Chairman Kolb for their work on this. We have other stuff too. One quick thing is collateral damage. I like mentioning collateral damage when we're talking about this. Poker is not the biggest gaming concern we have in the state of Wyoming. Neither skill games, or neither is bingo, and neither is pull tabs. When you hear from your constituents, I doubt any of them have said there's too much poker going on at the American Legion. The concern in optics and growth is not in this area. What we're trying to do is just clean up statute so we don't get professional gaming in the state, which they tried before. So with that, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I thank you, and I do want to take questions.
Questions?
One quick one.
Senator Ide.
I'd just make a comment. My libertarian leanings, wouldn't it be easier just to get out of the liquor and the gaming business at the state level? That's sort of we're trying to legislate morality here from behind the microphones here. And these are a lot of the problems that we see with the state getting involved with the free market. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, and Senator Ide, we are out of the gaming business in the sense of card games and dice games. We're just regulating to make sure they aren't crooked or nasty. So, and with liquor, that's a whole world because we support the liquor warehouse and that sort of thing. But with gaming, it's a different world because you need gentlemen like this in gaming. Because unless somebody's watching out for people, they will take advantage of other people. That's why we ran bingo and pull tab at the same time we did poker in 2007, because you had two nice ladies who were driving in an RV up from Kentucky every year, making hundreds of thousands of dollars off bingo and pull tabs. It turns out they were giving like $50 to Dare, pocketing the rest of the money, but calling it a charity. So you need enforcement people like Mr. Laramendi and his people to make sure bingo, for example, is being operated on the up and up. They're hitting the price. That's when we put in percentages for bingo and rules for that. So in the world of gaming, you need enforcement. In the world of alcohol, you need enforcement just for public safety. So I'm a libertarian soul myself, but on the other hand, people take advantage of other people, unfortunately. They're not as noble as we are. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, I think we've kind of gone down a rabbit hole on this. We'll get back to the bill. Go ahead, Senator Kolb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, back on the bill, as we say, right? I'd like a chance to look into this natural idea. I don't know. I don't think it's been researched enough. And the idea that I can tell you, my county prosecutors do not over prosecute. Matter of fact, they let somebody go who's clearly committing a felony to have a $140,000 pot and take a split. So what they do is they work with people for a lot of reasons. So that's the reality on the ground, is at least for the people that I know about. This idea of a natural person, you got to ask yourself, so we want to have then an illegal card game in the back room in a building conducted by a natural person? That's what we want to do? I mean, I'd like a chance. I guess I'll ask the committee for this. I'll look into this between now and when it goes on the floor. And if it looks like it's an issue, I'll certainly give you an amendment to consider for the body to amend it if that turns out to be an issue with the LSO. I don't feel comfortable talking about it without talking to our legal staff to find out, is that a real concern or is it not? So I can offer that to this committee, or the committee can do what the committee wants to do, Mr. Chairman. But I think from my point of view, considering who helped me write the bill, who came up with the language that was agreed to amongst the association, I wasn't aware of this till about 5 minutes ago. I guess, it's been a while since I've been up here, Mr. Chairman, so I'll just say it's been about that long.
Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. Chairman, I will be more than happy to work with the good chairman on this because like I said, I got the call from Senator Burns and he raised the issue and I checked with some attorneys. So I thank you and we'll work on it. And if it is the issue I'm concerned about, we can certainly work on an amendment.
Senator Dockstetter.
If you'd be willing, we just move the bill out of here and let these two gentlemen correct it with, while working with LSO, have it ready for the floor.
Absolutely not opposed to that. Do we have any other testimony on this bill?
Mr. Chair, if I may, real quick. I just wanted to make sure that something is very clear. In respect to what Mr. Mosier had said, at no point in time have any of these locations been threatened with closure. They have been told that the activity that is being conducted is illegal, and failure to cease that activity could lead to criminal prosecution. This is coming, after conversations with local prosecutors. At no time has any location been said that they were going to be closed down. And when it comes to the enforcement action, I don't know if I would consider it to be overzealous enforcement. Our folks are sworn peace officers. And when they're in these locations, they have a duty and an oath that they swore to uphold. So when they see felony activity taking place, they have a duty and a responsibility to act. So I just want to make sure that that's very clear as well. The last thing that I will say is, these gambling statutes haven't changed since the 80s. The only thing that has recently changed for gambling is that the legislature specifically mandated our office to investigate and enforce illegal gambling. So we are now the sole agency who has been charged with investigating and enforcing all of Title VI gambling statutes. That's what we do. I did 20 years on the street in normal cop work. I never looked twice at a card game in a bar. I was usually there for a bar fight or a walkthrough for some other disturbance, and I didn't look at that. But now there is an agency whose sole purpose is to investigate these, and really the purpose of that is to ensure that the people are protected. All of the people are protected. We've received numerous complaints on some of these quarter pushers and Queen of Hearts because they are very easily manipulated and they can be very easily, what's the right word? Cheated on. Let's just put it that way. So I just wanted to make that very clear.
Okay, any other questions? We will close testimony.
Move the bill.
It's been moved by Senator Dockstetter, seconded by Senator Ide. Any comments? Call the question.
Mr. Chairman, this is a roll call vote for Senate File 44. Senator Case,
Aye.
Senator Dockstader,
Aye.
Senator Ide,
Aye.
Senator Pappas,
Aye.
Chairman McEwen.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, you have 5 ayes.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for talking to us about some contentious issues. Okay, we'll move on to Senate File 46, skill-based amusement games, licensed liquor establishments. Senator Kolb.
Thank you, Chairman McEwen. Before you is Senate File 46.
Is this microphone?
Yeah, I'll maybe pull it closer. Nobody usually accuses me of being soft, but I'll try better so that people can hear me. We're talking about the skill-based amusement games licensed liquor establishments. Now, this bill, the inception was we had, in fact, skill games going up inside of our grocery stores. We found out about this late during our meetings during the summer on the interim, and this was the bill we came up with to deal with that. What was going on is we have a liquor establishment, a packaged liquor store, and the interpretation is that being the footprint of that building now would be considered the liquor store instead of the liquor store proper where the liquor was being stored at for sale, where you'd walk to your package store. And the decision was made that they could move out on the floor. They made an argument, and Nick could probably, go down more details about this, saying, well, we changed the law to say that we wanted people to be able to sell alcohol beyond the liquor dispensing area. and it was for restaurants. Well, I think that's the inception of how we got here. Well, they took that, and the end result is they put in skill-based games in the grocery store, right in front of the checkout stands. We had children, I can attest for this in my county, where I had a report from a very trusted friend that said that he went in in this case, that grocery establishment, and children were playing the games. He went up to the person near the checkout area and said, "Hey, there's a child playing." And the response was, "Well, what am I supposed to do about that?" It violates the permit to operate. It violates the agreement they had with the Gaming Commission. So that started an investigation. They went and looked at different establishments simultaneously. The Smith's establishment admitted that, we weren't watching that. And the Gaming Commission took action and put it on hold and an administrative review. If I'm saying this right, Nick, I'm trying to recall everything as accurately as possible. Well, from what I knew about when we expanded the skill-based games to put them in a liquor establishment, it was never the intent to put them in a grocery store. So that was the issue we're trying to deal with. And this is the result of that. So what this says clearly, in this case, you have to dispense primarily a malt beverage, or how's it worded? In dispensing alcohol for the consumption on licensed premises, let's say in a permitted alcohol liquor sell alcoholic liquor or malt beverages for consumption on the licensed premises. That's what it changed it to deal with this, to be more clear. Now, you might hear arguments that I guess they could make a rule. Well, they did make a rule that said you could do it. And then they can make a rule that said you don't want to do it anymore. So I think this is purely a legislative decision. If we as a legislative body want to have this service available in a grocery store, then I guess we could approve that. But the commission, in my opinion, is left just making a rule. Could go either which way. They decided they were going to do it. And of course, they could probably change what they did. I'm concerned that it's just going to change with the makeup of the board on the Gaming Commission. I mean, frankly, that's exactly what it could be. So I think it's a decision that us as a body should make. Do we agree with this or not? And this is a way of getting them out of there clearly and putting them into an area where if you do dispense and sell the beverages there, you can have those games there, the skill-based games. The reason is you don't want underage kids in there. And these machines, if we all know what they look like, they're very attractive to children. And I just don't think it's in our best interest to do that to the kids in the state. So that's why this bill's in front of you, to limit that and say clearly, we in this case, the Senate, don't agree that we should put these machines in the view of children for access. And that's the inception of the bill. That's what it's trying to do in front of you.
I have a quick question. Did the grocery store, these machines take a cut off the machines? Did they profit from it?
Well, I would just venture to say absolutely, but I think I'll let Director Laramundi comment to that because he understands the metrics.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, they do. They have contractual relationships with their vendor, and they do profit splits or profit sharing.
Well, I sell bananas for a living. And my cashiers, I want them to know the PLU code is 4011. I don't think I'd ever allow one of these machines in there because as soon as I start taking a cut off of it, I become responsible for managing, don't I?
Mr. Chairman, that is correct. And actually, the way the rules have been promulgated, it is the operator's sole responsibility to ensure that these games are not being played or in an area that is accessible to persons under the age of 21. If you'd like, I can give you a little background on how this all came about.
Please.
So if you look at the skill-based amusement game statutes currently in Title 11, there's a couple of prerequisites in order to be able to be eligible for a skill-based amusement game license. You have to be a smoke shop where 50% or more of your gross sales are from tobacco products. You have to be a truck stop, and there's a lengthy definition for what a truck stop is. It has to sit on 2 acres of land and sell on average of 150,000 gallons of diesel. Or 3, you have to hold a liquor license. What we have found in these instances, years ago, when liquor licenses were issued years ago, it would say that, this is the liquor license location and it's 300 square feet in the southwest corner of this establishment. That changed several years ago, and now the liquor license says the location located at 123 Anywhere Street is licensed to sell alcohol. So now that whole building holds the liquor license. So the argument was that the commission has to grant that license under the statute. We're very limited on when we can deny a license. And if they meet the 5 criteria to obtain that license, and holding a liquor license is one of them, the commission shall issue them a license. It doesn't even say may, it says that we shall give them a license. So we give them a license, and according to their liquor license, it is the entire building that is the liquor license establishment. We did try very hard to encourage these folks to leave them in the retail or in the packaged liquor area. Of course, they didn't want to do that because that doesn't get as much business as the front of the store. We didn't have any way to force them to put them at that time. This statute obviously, changes the definition of that. It gives the commission clear guidance on what is allowed and what's not allowed. And I would stand for any questions.
Give me just a minute. One last quick question, then I'll call on Senator Pappas. I'm confused. I really am. From what I just heard you say, if I have a liquor license, it's for the whole building. So I could put the liquor on a shelf like it's done in other states. But as I understand it, it's got to be fenced off and doored off. And so can you explain the difference to me on that?
Mr. Chairman, so yes, so the way that the liquor license is issued, for example, for the one that Senator Cole was talking about, they have to submit the liquor license with their application to prove that they have a liquor license. We then verify that they are in fact in good standing with that liquor license. But if you look at that liquor license, it actually says at the very bottom of it, and I actually have it in an email, I'll have to try to pull it because I can send it to you. It says that the licensed establishment is at this entire address. So technically, yes, the way that they could do it is, since they have a liquor license in the front of the store, walled off, that whole building for the purposes of the skill-based amusement games is a liquor licensed establishment. They could take those games and they could put them back by the meat counter if they wanted to. And we wouldn't be able to stop that because that whole building falls under the liquor licensed establishment.
Would they then collect personal property tax like the meat grinder? Senator Pappas.
Mr. Chairman, well, it would seem to me, the commission's got rulemaking authority. Seems to me that this could have been done through rules and regulations. Is that not true?
Mr. Chairman, Senator Pappas. So the commission has rulemaking authority with what you all give us. The commission doesn't have the authority to define what an establishment is or what establishment is supposed to be eligible for these. So we couldn't change the establishment like this bill does. No, we could not do that. And one of the, I guess one of the concerns or one of the risks that we have with rulemaking is then the commission has to try to make sure that they're getting the legislative intent that you all intended it to be, and then crafting the rules to mirror what your intent was, when sometimes it is just easier for you to tell me what I can do.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh,
I understand you can't create definitions, but I would think you could certainly say skill-based games can only go here, there, wherever. I would think that would have been possible.
Mr. Chair, I think to a point that could be possible, but I don't know how much further we could take it past that.
Senator Kolb.
Yeah, thank you. To kind of maybe add a little more light to this. The attorneys argued that what the liquor license situation is in the presence of the building, all right, it's clear it would end up in a lawsuit. I think that's the part that's really unsure. Yeah, they could do it and then dutifully be sued because it's unclear. They made an argument, and I will defend the director over here who tried to say, well, I don't know as we should do that, but they have a commission, and the commission decided to do what they did. The difficulty is, I think in this case, because it is gaming, it is not, you know, it's not some other innocuous thing. It's an addictive habit, and it's an issue that the legislature has the authority to say what we think is right. When you talk about latitude and non-clarity with a rule, I think they've already gone down the hole. They've already gone down the rabbit hole. Now they could rescind it, sure. Probably more fuel to get sued again. I think this is an issue about, you know, what is our feeling as a body? That's the reason why I think it levels to of a necessary statute to be more clear. That's why I think it's a little different. We're not talking about other things. We're talking about something in the state of Wyoming that's still deemed illegal. It is illegal to gamble in the state of Wyoming, and these are kind of exceptions to to our Constitution. Real question would be, is we want to change the Constitution? Okay, we used to be a gambling state, but we're not, and people are charged with following rules and regulations that we promulgate. And so here we are. So the question is morally, do you think it's something we should be saying we don't want them in grocery stores up front? Well, you know, we say we put them in the actual footprint of the age 21 area, you know, so that you don't have children there. I mean, that's my reason, Chairman McEwen, Senator Pappas, for kind of thinking this is a necessary thing, at least to bring before the whole body and to have the entire Senate weigh in on this. I think it's something that needs to be answered, because clearly they're in a position they could go either which way and then be sued. And I think this is just where we're at in this question, because smart lawyers, frankly, posed the position that you can put it there, and no one had tried it before until this. And that's why it evolved to this level. Before, we didn't have a problem because no one tried it. And so now they've made a legal argument. They sold a legal argument once, and now we want to backtrack and then be sued. I mean, I just think we need an answer, frankly, people in the Appropriations Commission or Revenue Commission, Chairman, Committee. I'm sorry. I elevated you for a second.
Damn the bad luck.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Senator Hyde.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Kolb, would it kind of clarify me? I'm a little slow on the uptick here, but with this conversation, if the bill had language in it that said that games would be allowed in the liquor section of the store, would that help both, you know, hit on that for me, if you would? That's my thoughts on this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Chairman McEwen, Senator Hyde, that's a policy decision about where you want to draw the line. The issue really comes down to children going in there, because you can still go in a liquor store with your kids. And these we're talking about an addictive product. And that's really that goes back to a judgment call. Do you want underage children to be around these machines? The same reason that drew them in at the front of the counter where the checkout is in the grocery store. That's really a larger question. And then who's watching them at that point? There's supervisions. Obviously, the clerk is probably selling alcohol to folks, you know, packaged liquor. Do they have the bandwidth to do it? I think it lends itself to some more issues, but that is a question, frankly. This was just to say they're not going to be there unless you serve alcohol in an establishment instead of a packaged liquor store where anybody can walk through it. This bill, the way it is currently written, would not allow that. It's only where the beverages are being served, basically at a bar or some an issue like that, a bar with, you know, malt beverages or hard liquor, whatever be the case. That's what this bill currently does. That's a decision I'll leave up to this committee, frankly, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Senator Case.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to pull up my folio about what the definition of establishment is, because this hinges on that definition, and for some reason it's jammed up, but well, help me out, Senator Pappas.
First page.
Single,
First page.
just that single, that's it? Okay, thank you. That's the first thing. Appreciate that. Secondly, I don't have a liquor license anymore. Thank God. So I did for many, many years. I declared conflicts on bills involving liquor. And so I don't see that I have a conflict on this bill. I haven't had a liquor license since the first of the year. Thank you.
Well,
Senator Cole.
yeah, I'd be remiss to say there's a provision in here for people that currently do have a license issued. And so that you don't just change the rules, pull the rug out from underneath them. It, on a page 3, line 1 and down, it goes into a way of dealing with that to deal with folks. And that's another problem with these laws. They're currently in place. And then we have to somehow figure out a way to be fair to people who had licenses issued, even though I think it's been said that we maybe didn't have to do it this way, but that was probably a compromise to deal with the situation.
Any other questions? Any other testimony?
Old Home Week. Mr. Chairman, Jonathan Downing appearing on behalf of Cowboys Skill and Pay Sabbatic. I'm also joined by Catherine Wilkinson, who also represents them. In terms of this issue, and we thank Senator Kolb and the Select Committee for their work over the interim on the multiple issues that were out there around the gaming space, not just in the skill game space, but in all spaces related to gaming in Wyoming. And just to be clear, as far as the games that have been the impetus for this bill, those are not our games. And for some, just to take folks back a little bit as far as history of how skill games came into Wyoming, back in 2018, 2019, there'd been a lot of discussion about gaming, providing gaming opportunities for Wyoming small businesses as far as your bars, your neighborhood taverns, your VFWs, your American Legions, your fraternal nonprofits. And at the time, that discussion, there was within front of the legislature, there was confusion as far as, not confusion, I'd say, but more, are you going to take a litigation route for a game of skill, or are you going to take a legislative route? And so our client, Paysomatic and Cowboys Skill, had gone through the front door. They had come before the legislature, spent a lot of time as far as what does a regulatory framework look like for small businesses seeking to offer those entertainment options in Wyoming to over 21 patrons. And so what that looked like was limits on gameplay of $3 per play, a limit on win of over 3,000, up to 3,000 in win. It also had sideboards on those bills as far as you could have no more than 4 games in any location. And so within that regulatory framework, the statutory framework, our folks are pretty libertarian in general. Normally, as far as us in the lobby, we don't come forward saying, please regulate us more, please pass more law. And I just put that out there as far as the history, because since that time in 2020, the legislature had adopted a regulatory and statutory framework for skill games regulation, separate from all the other gaming products that are out there that get a lot of attention right now, just strictly focused on skill games. During that time, and since that time, there have been some statutory changes in that process as far as to clarify where things stand within the law. And when the Gaming Commission was stood up as an example versus how it used to be a parimutuel commission, part of that commission, as far as a lot of the work of legislators before you, was to ensure that you had a commission that could regulate gaming in Wyoming. And as far as the legislature's role, it was very important that the Senate could confirm those commissioners being appointed by the chief executive, and then that commission would be reporting back to the legislature. And so as far as the protections in place for the legislature, as far as ensuring your will is done when it comes to the law, you have several mechanisms there. You have mechanisms through that review that you see with management council when you have rules come before from agencies to management council right before they go to the governor's desk. You have controls when you have the attorney general's office review those rules before they go to agencies and through the rulemaking process. And so the reason why I believe that as far as the rulemaking process is important as we have these discussions is that the Gaming Commission on their agenda for next Friday about this time, depending on how long-winded people are up there, will be addressing rules on skill games. Our clients have proposed some rule changes to the commission, and they'll be sending a formal letter that mainly addresses the issue as far as skill games in the locations, which everyone has had a problem with. And to reiterate, those are not our games, but because we're within the industry and because we had come through the front door, we wanted to make sure to address those issues. Since 2020, during that time, our industry had a moratorium on it when you had questions of where they should be and things like that. Gaming rules have addressed where do you provide games within certain locations as far as qualifying locations, ensuring they go through background checks, ensuring compliance with taxes and the like. And I just want to set the table for you in terms of why we're sitting before you saying, while we respectfully disagree with the work of the select committee, we believe that a mechanism already is in place for the Gaming Commission through the rules and the law that was set up in 2020. And since that time, to say where games can be placed or not placed. Along those lines, with the Gaming Commission, just for some background, they stood up that framework in 2020. They have been working very diligently, and we respect and appreciate their efforts as they've moved through that process. But as far as where we are right now, you have a commission that has ramped up to not only address issues around skill games, you've also had them ramp up to ensure what other gaming products are coming down the pipe. It's a very dynamic industry. And in that respect, when you keep putting things in the green book, keeps on changing what you're expecting and whatnot. And so the ask is mainly give the commission some time to address this through rule. If you don't like it, you already have the work of the interim select committee that was approved last year at management council. If the legislature so desires to have a select committee on gaming, you'll also have that lever. But keep in mind, you have a number of tools at your disposal as the legislature to ensure that those public policy decisions are influenced and followed through on. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Catherine Wilkinson, and then we'd be open for questions.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Catherine Wilkinson on behalf of Cowboy Skill and Pace-O-Matic. We did just have distributed the part of the section of the rule that we are proposing in front of the Gaming Commission on February 20th. Wanted to see that this does clearly address that if a liquor license area is in a grocery store, that it shall be located within that area. So just wanted to provide you a copy of what we will be working with the Gaming Commission on February 20th, and would just ask that you respectfully let us work this through the rules process. And if this still is an issue next year, that we'd be happy to work with the legislature to clarify it in statute. Thank you.
And Catherine can answer any questions on the rules if you'd like.
Questions? Could you come back up for a minute? Just a quick question. And I don't mean to seem confrontational when I'm asking these. So I'm gonna go back to the Queen of Hearts discussion where they can't take a cut off that, but the skills games, they can take a cut off. And is that because the skills games are in statute and the Queen of Hearts is not? Or is there a primary difference?
Mr. Chair, I think it's important to remember that under Wyoming law, gambling is illegal. It's an illegal activity unless there is an exception to that gambling. Skill-based amusement games have been exempted from gambling, so they're legally operated. Same with HHR, bingo, pull tabs, Calcuttas, and charitable raffles. Those are the big six. And I don't think I'm missing anything. So those six activities are legal. So the way that they, do profit sharing between the vendors and the operators, those are contractual relationships for a legal activity. So it is legal. The Queen of Hearts in and of itself is an illegal game. And that's why there's the difference. I hope that helps.
And I hate to use that example, but if that was exempt, then it'd be okay.
Mr. Chair, I guess another one that we can use that I've received a lot of complaints about is quarter pushers. Quarter pushers is another one. They've been around for a very long time, but it's an illegal device. If you read the statute, it says gambling means risking any property for gain contingent and whole part lot of chance. You drop a quarter into a machine and you're hoping that it pushes quarters off the end. It's illegal that way. So in those instances, I think from what we found, they were being profit shared between, the bar and then the vendor who was placing that game there. And that would be illegal on both sides of it.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody win at that game.
Mr. Chair, and also just so you're aware, the reason why those actually came to the forefront for us is our office received a lot of complaints on those for two reasons. Number one, there were some locations that would, they'll wind up $100 bills or $50 bills and kind of put them in there and then they move to the forward. Well, the allegations were made that, when the bar closes at 2, the bartender can go and open it up and then they can just push those back to the back, just to where those never really are going to fall. To my point earlier, that's why I said it, those types of games are very easily manipulated when they're unregulated. So
Thank you for the clarification.
you're welcome.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Case,
Permission to ask a stupid question.
seems to be the
Seems to be my
mode of today for everybody.
For B. This says the rules would say, like the grocery store example, I think the issue is here is they have it in the front of the store and not in the liquor store. Is that fair enough? But I am unaware that an adult can take a person under 21 into the package store, can't they? So I don't see where this solves the grocery store's problem because there could be someone less than 21. Do I have that wrong? Help me.
Anybody? Go ahead, Senator Gold.
Well, you're right, Senator Case. You're right. And the issue really comes down to supervision. The issue came down to is, frankly, should the legislature have even given this permission to do this? I think maybe we tried to do a lot of things to be amenable, and frankly, the industry has pushed this. I will just tell you up front, the folks in Wyoming aren't the issue, okay? These people next to me are not the issue. The issue is anyone else who has a smart attorney who found out a loophole. And to be more clear about this loophole, the Gaming Commission does not have the authority to override a state statute as it is applying to liquor licenses, which is really the crux to the matter. You're getting a red herring here. It's not going to be solved by the gaming, a rule in the gaming, because if you think about how things progresses, right? What goes to the next? Well, they found a loophole within liquor law about the footprint of the building. Okay, that's where this came from. It is not going to be solved by some rule by the Gaming Commission. They don't have that authority to deal with the underlying issue with liquor law, if we're going to look at it that way. A good question was asked is, well, how the heck did we get here? Well, we got here one step at a time. We've got different rules for different kinds of gaming. We've got a hodgepodge of different things. And our skill games people, like I say, in our state have been responsible folks, but that isn't what this is about. This is about the underlying issue as senators. Our world is the law. The law states the way it does with the liquor law, which allows the footprint to be the entire building. There's been some good questions about, well, what does that mean? I can put liquor anywhere. The answer is, well, no, but when it refers to skill games, oh yeah, you can. So our fundamental question is, do we want to solve the problem? Do we want to talk about this as a statutory issue because of liquor law, which is really the beginning of this whole thing that came up? It didn't happen with the Rules Committee. It came up with the way we wrote the law. We were trying to be amenable towards premises that were serving alcohol and having families in there. Well, I think that's kind of what led to this. So a rule, well, I'd like to think it would work, but I could argue, well, that's kind of ridiculous because it depends on the commission and they could change the rule. This is about underlying statutory problem with liquor law. And you're right, it isn't a direct way to fix it because we broaden it up for other purposes, but it is a way to deal with it in this instance. And this instance is what are we going to do? And the fundamental question is, do we want to say in this case that they're not in that establishment at all unless you serve liquor? Or do we want to say, okay, we'll put them in there, but not allow them in the store? And there's language that could be done. It could go either way on this. The fundamental question is, do you want younger kids in front of these machines? Well, most likely without supervision. I mean, if they blocked them off and had them in a separate booth on a separate, there's ways of doing it. But the question is, how are we going to solve this problem? And if the argument's going to be made that it's a rulemaking resolution, no, it's not, because the underlying reason how we got here was liquor law. That's what the attorneys argued in saying that, well, the whole premises could be put on that whole premises. I know it's a lot to take in all at once, listening to all this stuff. We've had a lot of time to think about it, and we have been working with our partners. And we've tried we've had open meetings where everybody could comment about this. And honestly, it was a last minute thing because of what had happened. We found out with Smith's, and we didn't have a lot of time to take a lot of input. And I do regret that, but we had a last meeting and we couldn't change it. But there was a problem, and the problem's not going anywhere, to my colleagues. And I guess we'll discuss it. This is your committee. You do what you want to do. My opinion is it's not going to be solved by a rule for the reasons I mentioned. Thank you for my comment, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Case.
Sort of where I was going with my question was, if there was to be a rule, wouldn't you want to put in there in which a person under the age of 21 years may enter unaccompanied by an adult? Would that fix your problem? I'm just asking. And Mr. Mosier's here and he's an expert on liquor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Mike Mosier, Wyoming State Liquor Association, allow me to defend liquor law because we've been getting thrown to the bus lately. Liquor law, actually the packaged liquor store is the most restrictive liquor location in Wyoming because you can't go in unless you're accompanied by an adult. With a restaurant or bar, you can. And that's why we have fenced off areas for skill games. I'd like to, our problem is not skill games in packaged liquor stores, it's skill games in grocery stores. If those 4 skill games would have been located inside the liquor store at this grocery store, nobody would care. The problem is location. Now, this is where, if I may, this is where liquor law comes in, because the difference is we do not own our liquor licenses. The city and county does, and they can tell us to do whatever we want. Now, kudos and the Select Committee on Gaming in that first meeting with the Gaming Commission with their good work, I think we learned what could have happened. What could have happened is the Gaming Commission saw the application and called the local licensing authority, the city, the city council, and said, don't know if you're okay with this, but this grocery store wants to put 4 skill games next to the cash wrap. What's their liquor license? And the city council can do about anything they want to with a liquor license. as far as restricting whether you have a bar, whether you have restricting whether you have a drive-up window. They can deny a liquor license because you're ugly and your mom dresses you funny. They can do anything they want to because it's their liquor license. And so in that scenario, if that city council and the mayor, because what we heard in testimonies, the mayor of this city found out about these Forest Skill games when he went grocery shopping. A mayor should have known sometime before that, that grocery store was putting Forest Skill games near the cash wrap and the claw machine. No one would have had a problem if those Forest Skill games would have gone in the packaged liquor store. And if that council had known about it and went back to that licensee and said, hey, listen, Yehu, not there. It has to be in the packaged liquor store. We issue your license. We can put parameters on. And so that could have been taken care of at a municipal level. Now, that being said, by the way, the dispensing room where it's the whole building, we did that. And the reason we did that, and the good senator who used to own a liquor license, darn shame you're out of the business, sir. In the old days, I had a bar and a restaurant in Cheyenne. I had the bar upstairs, big banquet room downstairs. In the old days, I had to get a catering permit to serve alcohol in my basement because alcohol service was restricted to that area. So we made it the whole building. Right? And that's why so you could serve alcohol wherever in your building, your bar and your restaurant. That was not the intent of this law, but it's within the possibilities. Home rule. We heard a lot about home rule. A city can put conditions on a liquor license where you do stuff like that. Now, that being said, do we need something? Sure. Do we prefer statute or rules? I had a legislator many years ago, it goes back almost as far as Senator Case does. And, and he told me you never put in statute what you can put in rules because it's easier to modify. If somebody finds another loophole, you can change it, you can tweak it. And so in that sense, it's more modifiable. I think we did a shot across the bow, but I think the other thing, the best thing to me that happened out of this was the Gaming Commission working with local licensing authorities when things like that happen to be able to put a heads up and say, I don't know if you want that there. And so there could have been different avenues to be approached. I salute the good chairman for doing this, but I don't know whether it needs to be in statute. Now, that being said, committee, if I may, I don't think the bill does anything because it says page 2, or that is licensed or permitted to sell alcoholic beverage or malt beverages for consumption in the licensed permitted premise. Well, everybody with a full retail license is licensed to sell on premise. They just don't. So it doesn't say you have to serve anything. It just says you're licensed to do it. So I don't think the bill by itself does much. I appreciate where it's going, but I think it's more easily correctable in rules when we have those things. Like I said, I can take either way. I prefer rules because it's simpler. And I salute Senator Kolb and Mr. Laramendi for all their hard work on this. And
Mr.
with that,
Chairman.
I'll take any questions.
Question.
Senator Pappas.
So I'm going to join Senator Case with some dumb questions. So tell me on the definition of establishments on line 16, truck stop. I mean, you can do it in a truck stop. How are you keeping children away from them in a truck stop?
Mr.
Or
Chairman.
a smoke shop. I'm assuming kids can walk into a smoke shop, right? No, they can't even walk in with an adult parent? Well, okay, so what I'm saying, I know they can walk in a truck stop without an adult parent. So why aren't we concerned there?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
So the issue really is the enforcement issue of this. These games were put into law to be 21 and up. There's supposed to be signage. There's supposed to be fences blocking children, and they are supposed to be monitored by the operator, who at this point is the establishment. So the establishment is the operator. They are licensed to do that. And so that is a monitoring situation. So this goes back to the issue of enforcement. It was a very unfortunate placement in those grocery stores at the front of the store, but it really is an enforcement issue. These games are not meant for children. They're 21 and up.
Any other questions?
Chairman,
Senator Dockstetter.
hearing from one side that we don't necessarily need the bill. I'd like to hear the prime sponsor come back and respond to that if we could.
Senator Kolb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Absolutely, the bill's needed. If the Rules Committee would have listened to their good director over here, maybe we wouldn't be here, but they probably would have been under a lawsuit. The issue is because of what the footprint of the liquor store is now. And I'm not disparaging liquor stores. They're an important part of our community. You know, they serve a purpose. The issue is that we are vulnerable. That's the reason why I think our gaming commission decided to issue it. For a lot of reasons, like the local control issue. They decided it was safer to issue it. Obviously they did, because they did. It comes down to what the statutes currently are that are way beyond the ability of the Gaming Commission. The Gaming Commission cannot go in there and change liquor law licensing, and I don't want to change it either. We worked hard on that to allow what we have done now, you know, to offer beverages in a restaurant, let's just say, if I'm saying that right. So we have a set of circumstances over here on one side statutorily that allows this to happen. The problem is it I think inadvertently breached over into the skill games. And so now the question is how's that going to be resolved? Is it going to be resolved by the Gaming Commission, who inadvertently already agreed to do this for these 3 locations that I'm talking about in a grocery store up front? They already agreed. So if there was an argument to say they could do it, they should have done it. They didn't. And I think the reasons why is because there's a conflict in the law now. Well, a conflict if you don't think they belong in a grocery store. Okay, I'll just say it that way, Chairman and my colleagues. So what's the solution? The solution is going to be, I think in this case, we're forced to do a statutory change. And people have said it. We don't want to be too prescriptive on statutes because it sometimes turns around and bites you. Well, it turned around and bit us already. The fact is that we were amenable towards a certain situation with liquor licensing to try to deal with that situation. Well, they turned it around, and I'll use the words, they used it against us. They used it against our community. They used it against what we thought as legislators when this passed, that no one had this intention, that it would be used in this way. I think we're to the point where we have a bill in front of us that's made it through introduction. And here we are talking about it more, you know, in depth. I think there's definitely, I don't see how we can have a permanent fix without a statutory change. It doesn't seem to be possible because the underlying problems beyond the Gaming Commission. If they could go in there and change statutes, sure, but they can't. They only work under the statutes that we pass. I think at this point on a larger picture of this, I think because we've made the comments about truck stops have them and such, and you know, there's a lot of conflicts here, which I'll say for the record, I never voted for, but the Senate passed it and it became law. That all being said, I think there's probably room for a compromise here. If we were to say the packaged liquor store can have skill-based games within them, however, they must be shielded from view of children under 21. That might be a way to do it. It has broader implications on other areas, but that's up to this committee to decide. But I urge this committee to support a statutory change, only because I can't see how it's going to be permanent with the rule change. We're going to open ourselves up to lawsuits, just like we were potentially going to have before. And this is a way to unwind it. It gives permanence and clear direction to our Gaming Commission, and they're good people trying to do good things. But I think when we promulgate inadvertently statutes that cause them conflict, that's what's led us here. So this is a way out of that. This is a way of saying, okay, this is what we believe, and this is gambling. Be clear about it. So we have I think an extra responsibility because of what that means to our people. You know, we all know I want a free society. I want folks to be able to do what they want to do, but you know, this borders on how do we do it right. So I think, for my opinion, I'll just say this to the committee, I'd be willing to offer an amendment that we would then relegate them to we would allow them in packaged liquor, but clearly it has to be within the confines of said packaged liquor footprint where the liquor is actually sold. We had it kind of went back and forth in the committee on how far we should go, what we should do. And I was going to leave it up to the body and you folks, obviously in this committee, to make that decision. I'm all right with you, obviously whatever you think. It's your committee, Mr. Chairman McEwen. But I think there's no solution unless we have a statutory change. That would be my best argument. And that's where I'll stop. Thank you for the chance to comment.
Mr. Chairman, Prime Sponsor's thoughts on this amendment that was handed down?
Have you seen the amendment?
It's not an amendment.
That's just proposed rules.
Proposed rules. excuse me.
No,
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, he's suggested an amendment. Do we want to have him explain what that would mean now and proceed with the bill?
Go ahead, Senator Rod.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. With good Senator Dockstader here and what Senator Kolb proposed there, I like those comments with that amendment. I think it gets me closer on this bill. Thank you.
Senator Cope.
yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. To be clear, I didn't have it drafted, but I'm certainly willing to bring it up on the floor. And I promise you I will. I'll bring it up on the floor as an amendment on the first reading. I don't have it with me. It obviously, this is not something simple to construct, but I think it is a path forward and I'd be willing to do it. Once again, I think everyone's getting a feeling of how frankly complex and a rabbit hole you can jump down on this issue. I don't know if that's going to be amenable to everyone, but I'd be willing to do that as a compromise. And I'll just say that, and I promise you, I will have one drafted and I'll circulate it before it comes up in the full body.
Do we have anybody else that wants to testify? Come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Affie Ellis. I'm an attorney with Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck. I have no client that works in the skill-based amusement world, but I just want to remind the committee, having served in your seat, when we first looked at skill-based amusement games, this issue was contemplated. If you look at 1125-303D, that's existing law now, it says skill-based amusement games shall only be located for play at an establishment. And there's a definition for that: truck stops, places that serve liquor. And then it has some grandfathering language. And it says an operator shall not locate a skill-based amusement game in an area of the establishment into which a person under the age of 21 years may enter. An operator shall conspicuously mark each area of the establishment containing a skill-based amusement game as an age-restricted area. The operator shall not allow any person under the age of 21 years to play a skill-based amusement game. So, Mr. Chairman, I don't have a dog in the fight if you proceed with the bill or not, but I think there's a little bit of a disconnect in saying there's not language. There is. My understanding, and I had concerns about the truck stop issue years ago, because I had entered a truck stop along I-80 and I saw a couple of skill-based amusement games there. There wasn't age-restricted markings. As a senator, I called the Gaming Commission and I said, wait a minute, they're supposed to be marked off. And the commission immediately took action and marked that place off. And so it is the duty, in my understanding, of the operator, if it's a truck stop or any place that has a liquor license, to maintain that requirement. So I just wanted to put a little color on that of how I think these statutes are supposed to work together, of the definition of an establishment versus this very specific language that when we crafted the skill-based amusement games, why that's in there. So I have no dog in the fight. I just really wanted, you haven't discussed this language and I think it's important. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Have anybody else? We got to kind of get this taken care of here shortly.
Here's a fellow that shops at Smith's.
Mr. Chairman, my name's Kyle Butterfield. I'm the city administrator for the city of Riverton. I'll be very brief because I know you have work to do. I am speaking in favor of this. We had an incident in our town that was very similar to the concern that's been expressed. And our mayor was the one that caught it. So we support your action to regulate this through statute. And like I said, you've had significant discussion, so I will be brief. But I think that this is a helpful step forward. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, well, we'll close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Move the bill.
It's been moved by Senator Ide, seconded by Senator Dockstetter. Discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I personally think that, while I know the intent of the bill, I'm going to be a no vote on the bill because I think I still believe it can be held, taken care of by rule, and that we don't need to put it in our statute. If we do pass this bill, I hope the good senator will actually bring that amendment. I would, but one thing I don't agree with our good bringer of the bill is that rules and regulations adopted by state agencies after they've gone through their full hearing and noticing and filing processes are they carry the full force and effect of law. And so I just don't know why we need to be messing it up, because I really think this actually does exactly what we need. And frankly, I think it does it better, but I don't disagree that we need to fix the problem. I just think this is the way to go rather than a statute. Thank you.
Senator Ide.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Comments from Senator Pappas, I agree with that to a certain extent, but rules and regulations a lot of times can get more burdensome for the free market too. And I think that this, if we get it in statute on regarding the amendment, potentially whether it'll make it there, that'll broaden the freedom on what you can do with those games. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'm kind of the rules guy, and I also think that former Senator Ellis is mentioning the other part of the statute that's important in this. I'm not sure why that didn't come into play.
Any other comments? Okay, let's call a roll.
Mr. Chairman, this is a roll call vote for Senate File 46. Senator Case,
No.
Senator Dockstetter.
Aye.
Senator Ide,
Aye.
Senator Pappas,
No.
Chairman McEwen.
Troy, you're on roll call.
Maybe. Well.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Doesn't matter.
You know, do you have skills games in your liquor license? Would you be thinking about it?
Probably not.
I think in good conscience, you can vote the bill and you could take it to the floor. And if he wants to add a conflict at that time, that'd be fine, but he's not contemplating, he doesn't have skills games. He's not contemplating having skills games, even though he is a liquor license holder. So I think you could vote. And I'll tell you what, if you feel you want to do the conflict, I'll vote aye to get the bill out of here because I see your dilemma.
I think I'll vote conflict then, and if you'll vote.
I'll vote aye.
Mr.
I'm doing
Chairman,
that because the chairman was in a bind. I won't support the bill on the floor.
Mr. Chairman, you have 3 ayes, 1 no, and 1 conflict.
That was fun.
We'll call this over. By the way, I'm voting for your committee.
Yeah, I'll tell you. That's why we need rules.
We do.